Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are cracking open one of the most elegant, highly structured rulebooks that keeps order on the high seas. We're looking at the legal architecture around maritime liability. Now, I know that might sound a little dense at first, but as we unpack it, you're going to see this brilliantly designed system that perfectly balances massive global commerce with deeply human values.
Okay, let's dive into it. Our agenda today covers 1. The liability shield, 2. Breaking the shield, 3. The math of mutual blame, 4. Calculating the cap, and 5. The priority pyramid. We're going to make these layers crystal clear at first glance. Starting right off with Section 1, the liability shield.
At the very foundation of maritime law is this fascinating protective mechanism. Basically, the framework grants ship operators a protective limit on their liability. And if you think about it, why is this so necessary? Well, consider the modern shipping industry. Today's megaships can carry up to 24,000 containers at once, loaded with literally billions of dollars worth of electronics and machinery. The financial risk of moving that much cargo across unpredictable oceans is just staggering. If a single unexpected storm could instantly bankrupt a massive logistics company, moving goods globally just wouldn't happen. Insurers absolutely wouldn't touch it. So this legal shield is the bedrock that makes international shipping financially possible. It caps the fallout. But as you'll see, it's definitely not a free pass.
Which brings us to Section 2, breaking the shield. Let's look at exactly how an operator can lose this ultimate protection.
So when exactly does a captain or an operator actually lose their legal protection? It's a great question, because if this liability shield is what keeps global commerce afloat, shattering it must require something truly extraordinary, right? The law is incredibly practical here. It doesn't just strip away a company's financial shield over an honest mistake or an unavoidable mechanical failure. There has to be a severe breach of trust.
So the crucial point is that the law dictates you lose your right to limit liability under two very specific, very severe conditions. On one side, you have an act committed with the intent to cause loss. Think deliberate sabotage. On the other side, you have an act committed recklessly, and crucially, with the knowledge that such loss is likely to result. So it's not just being a little careless. It's being careless while fully understanding that a disaster is probably going to happen.
The legal framework is so precise here. It specifically requires proving that intent to cause such loss or that reckless knowledge. Losing the shield isn't about, an accidental bump against a dock in thick fog. It requires proving a severe level of deliberate or conscious reckless action by the operator. It's designed to hold them highly accountable for extreme bad faith, while still shielding them from the very real, everyday hazards of the ocean.
Let's move on to Section 3, the math of mutual blame. This explores the fascinating math that kicks in when two parties point the finger at each other. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the law handles that tangled mess with a clean 3-step rule. Imagine two cargo ships collide in a busy lane, and both operators file opposing claims from that exact same occurrence. That's step 1. Now, step 2 is where the elegance really kicks in. Instead of demanding two massive, messy payouts cross each other through different banks, their claims are set off against each other. It's exactly like a perfectly balanced scale canceling out equal weights. If ship A owes $10 million and ship B owes $8 million, they just cancel out the overlapping 8. Then, step 3. The liability limits we talked about earlier only apply to whatever mathematical balance is left over. So, just that remaining $2 million. It is an incredibly neat, logical way to untangle a chaotic situation.
All right, Section 4, calculating the cap. If the shield is intact, how do we get the final dollar limit?
For most claims arising on a distinct occasion, the limits are actually calculated based on a major piece of international architecture, the Limitation of Liability for Maritime Claims Convention. Unless a specific country prescribes its own limit for its waters, the law globally defers to this convention for the math. It creates a predictable, standardized approach, so a captain knows their general risk exposure no matter where they are sailing.
Now, before we look at a really unique exception to that math, let's just quickly define a vital term: a salvor. A salvor is simply a person rendering salvage services to a vessel in distress. You can think of them as the specialized emergency rescue operators of the ocean, heading straight into storms or fires to save a sinking ship.
Because their work is so high stakes, salvors have a specific rule. If a salvor isn't operating from a vessel, or they're working solely on the vessel they are actively saving, their liability limits are tied strictly to gross tonnage.
Why gross tonnage?
Well, in the chaotic environment of a maritime disaster, tying liability to the physical capacity of a ship provides a fixed, highly predictable metric.
It's a clever adaptation to ensure these rescuers aren't paralyzed by the fear of infinite liability while they're literally out there trying to save lives.
And finally, Section 5, the priority pyramid. What happens when the money simply isn't enough to go around? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how clearly it reveals the core values embedded in maritime law. We have a strict hierarchy. Rank 1 is loss of life or personal injury. Rank 2 is damage to harbor works and waterways. Rank 3 is all other claims, like commercial cargo. When funds are limited, the law explicitly puts a premium on human life above absolutely everything else. Right behind that is the critical infrastructure that keeps everyone else safe. Commercial property damage, that sits firmly at the bottom.
To make this hierarchy work, there's a crucial concept: ranking ratably. If the legal limit for life and injury claims isn't enough to pay those victims in full, that unpaid balance drops down and pulls from the pool of money originally meant for the lower priority claims. It will rank ratably, meaning it shares proportionally, eating into those remaining funds to ensure human life gets maximum compensation before a single dollar replaces a lost shipping container.
So to sum that up beautifully, life and injury always get the VIP line. Harbors and vital waterways get second priority, and the remaining commercial claims just get whatever is left over. It proves that maritime law isn't some chaotic free-for-all. It's a deeply fair, highly precise system driven by human values.
Through everything we've explored today, it's amazing to see how this framework transforms vast, multi-billion-dollar global logistics into a profoundly human-centered rulebook. All these dense legal codes and mathematical setoffs ultimately exist for one reason: to protect people and maintain order on the unpredictable ocean.
Which leaves me with a final provocative question for you all. If a single maritime law can so elegantly balance billion-dollar logistics with the absolute uncompromising value of human life, what other invisible rulebooks are quietly shaping our world right now without us even noticing? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep seeking out those hidden structures, and I'll catch you next time.